Good evening. It is January 23rd, 2024. Welcome to the San Marino Unified School District Board of Education meeting. And here is your board president, Shelley Ryan.
Thank you, Dr. Choi. Coming from closed session, there is nothing to report. Regular session now will begin. I'd like to call to order. Is everybody ready? I'm going to give everybody a minute. Mrs. Chan? Here. Mr. Chang?
Here.
Mrs. Gill?
Here.
Mrs. Lam?
Here.
Mrs. Lam is joining us on Zoom right now, so I just wanted to let everyone know. And I am here, Mrs. Ryan, and our student board member, Ms. Cho.
Here.
Thank you. Dr. Richter, would you please introduce our student who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you, President Ryan. It would be my pleasure. This evening, we are honored to have an amazing junior from San Marino High School, Isabel Arity, also known as Izzy, who will lead the Board of Education in the salute to the flag and share a little bit about herself and San Marino High School.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. My name is Isabella Rodi, and I'm currently a junior at San Marino High School. In 2018, coming from a very sheltering Catholic community, I transferred to HMS for 6th grade. Since then, I've made countless memories and I've grown tremendously. I've made many friends, but there are 3 that have truly stood by me for the past 3 years. San Marino High School, although academically challenging, is a place where students like myself are allowed to grow and find who they truly are. Throughout our junior year, we have been faced with the stress of college applications being around the corner and thinking we are supposed to know what we want to do with our lives. Luckily for me, I figured out what I wanted early on in my sophomore year, and that is to become a United States Naval submarine officer. Although enlisting in the Navy was a dream, my parents talked me into doing more and becoming an officer, making school an even bigger priority than it once was. These dreams were not just something I came up with overnight, but something I couldn't have figured out without the United States Naval Sea Cadet Corps. This program for ages 11 to 18 has helped me ground myself, as well as giving me opportunities and experiences that most kids my age couldn't even dream of. Throughout my 6 years in the program, I've spent countless winter and summer breaks without my friends, my family, and even my phone. It seemed tough in the beginning, but it's a program that I'm forever grateful for. During my 11th training last summer, I was grateful enough to spend a week with different submariners in Hawaii, learning from their experiences and undergoing different submarine scenarios at the Naval Submarine Training Center Pacific, helping me make a definite decision on my dream life. This program, the San Marino Unified School District, my teachers, my family, and my friends have truly shaped me into the person I am and who I'm becoming. Thank you.
Izzy, it's Izzy, right?
Yes.
Okay. Izzy, we're so proud of you. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us this evening. I would like to present you with the certificate for leading us in the pledge and telling us about what a wonderful experience that you have had. My sister was married to a chief lady for many, many years, and so she got to travel the world with him, and it was a wonderful experience. And I hope that all your dreams come true and you get to do the same. Thank you. Two, three.
Right here in the center. 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you so much. You did a fantastic job. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Is see how, where did she go? She's gone? Oh, I was gonna say how inspirational. All right, so next I would like approval for our agenda this evening. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve.
Thank you, Mrs. Gill. Thank you, Mr. Chang. Roll call. Mrs. Chong,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
and Mrs. Ryan, I, and student board member, Ms. Cho.
Aye.
Thank you. The agenda is approved. Next, I need approval of the minutes dated December 12th, 2023. Board of Education meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the 12/12/23 meeting minutes?
I have a motion to approve with two amendments.
Mhm.
One, I recuse myself from closed session items 3A1 and 3C. And two, in open section item 9D, the motion to waive compensation was seconded by Mrs. Gill, not me.
Okay. With that, with the two. Okay,
Oh, I was gonna make the motion for you.
okay, thank you, Mrs. Gill.
Move to approve with Mrs. Chong's changes.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Gill. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. And so with the minutes of the 12/12 will be approved with the two amendments. And so we've done, okay, let's do roll call. Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill.
Aye.
Mrs. Chong,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, I, student board member, Ms. Choi.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, San Marino Unified School District Spotlight. I would like to turn it over to San Marino High School, Mr. Wolf.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the board, Superintendent Delatorre. I'm very happy tonight to be able to introduce in a few minutes Mr. David Basulto and the members of San Marino High School's esports teams. And for those of you who may not know a lot about esports, I remember when it was first starting up before it came into high schools, when it was just, private leagues and stuff. And I remember saying to myself, there's no way anybody is going to spend hours watching other people play video games, right? I got the allure of playing video games. I had an Atari when I was a kid, right? Pong. I know none of you kids know that, right? But this has turned into a huge industry where people participate in private leagues. There are leagues that represent their nations. It's huge all over the world, and there's a lot of money to be made in this. And so then when it came into high schools as a competition, we all thought, well, this is excellent because it fosters teamwork and it's just another form, another way for students to compete. But I think it also is teaching them really valuable skills as well, just like our regular sports, athletic sports teams. And for Mr. Basulto, for those of you who may not know, who is a successful entrepreneur, he came back to the school because he likes being with the kids. And that's evident every day when you see him with our students. And whenever we ask him to do anything or film something for us, he does it with a smile on his face. He never says no. It's always, how can I help you? And clearly that's why our students are as successful in his classes as they are. And Mr. Basulto, I'm going to invite you up to talk about how your team did this year.
Well, I'm very glad to have gotten to fool everybody. So anyway, no, I'm so thrilled to be back after 10 years of being away from the spotlight here and teaching. And my son, when he just, an opportunity opened up to come back and work with some amazing people. It's just like Dr. Steven right here. I love to see him again. And Dr. Delatorre, who's my friends from before. So one of the things when I came back, so many years ago, I played football at San Diego State. So I'm an athlete. I love athletics and competition and everything. Did I want to go out in the football field all day and coach? No, not really. It's hot out there. So when I came back and there was an opportunity to coach esports, a secret of mine is I'm a huge gamer. I game all the time. My son and I've been playing a game called EverQuest, which is an online multiplayer game set in like a medieval kind of fantasy world. I've been playing that for 22 years with the same bunch of guys. And our guild that we have is called Grumpy Old Men, so that kind of tells you. So we're on twice a week. We're on religiously. We talk and we do our thing. So it's a lot of fun. So when the opportunity was open for this, I was like, it's a great way to coach and to be involved in competition. And I don't have to be outside sweating. And I loved it. So I think our first meeting was last year when I took over. And we had something like 58 or 60 kids that showed up to the meeting at lunch. And right away I said, oh my God, this is the building of a great organization here. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna get these guys jerseys and we're gonna be a real sports team. And they all broke up into their separate groups and they started to go on a run. And so prior to this season, our League of Legends team, which I think came in here and talked to you guys, they had won the California State Championship. And I was like, this is amazing. Okay, great. Little did I know that this amazing Overwatch team, which was a game I kind of knew about so I could watch them and follow along. League of Legends was just crazy to me. This amazing Overwatch team started this grind this past season. And I kept checking on, make sure everything's good, and we're going and going. And all of a sudden, I see we're in the playoffs. All right, I'm happy. Let's go. We're in the playoffs. And it kept going and going. And then there were some crazy things that happened in the playoffs. One of the teams that we had played during the regular season, and I think we lost. Did we lose to them? No, we beat them, right? We lost to them in the playoffs, but another team from Nebraska called me, but discorded me and said, hey, we think that there was some college players on that high school team that they subbed in. And so she brought it up with the organization that sponsors it. And lo and behold, there were these college players. So that knocked these people out. They've had to forfeit, and we kept going down and made our run. So then we get into where we're in the championship for the national championship. And I'm like, I'm gonna buy these guys rings. This is gonna be amazing. And went up against an incredibly hard Brooklyn Academy, Brooklyn Tech, I think they were called, something like that. And we fell a little short, but these guys were just rock stars. So they're getting a bunch of really nice medals from the conference and stuff like that. And I was hoping they would be here by now, but by the end of January. So just thrilled to be a part of this. And some people don't know that I get calls from UC Irvine. They have a huge esports program. And, if you have anything, people for scholarship opportunities, let us know. These are the games we're looking for. And I'm talking to them, telling them, yeah, there's some players. And Emerson has a big esports program. In fact, Andrew Chen, who graduated last year, he's on their Valorant team back there. So it's another game. And so there's a huge opportunity for these kids that want to play sports, right? But they get to do it in the comfort of an awesome chair and have fun with their buddies talking. And you should hear these guys like commanding each other to what they do and stuff like that. It's really actually a lot of fun to listen to them most of the time, right? So let me bring up Sebastian here, who is the captain of Infrared, the Overwatch team. So, sir, say a few words and tell us about how you put this amazing group together.
So a lot of people on our team, we've been friends since like elementary school, and we've been playing together. And I think it's just built a lot of chemistry. And I'd like to recognize everyone on the team right now. Actually, we have Jared Wang, Alan Champon, Jaden Chang, Bryce Wong, Anderson Nakagawa, and Gianni Kumera, and also Kyle Lay, who couldn't make it today. But as our first season, and for many of us, our last season, I think we did really good.
But now the big thing is a lot of them are, some of you are doing sports in the spring, right? And so now we're seeing, can we juggle it? Is it impossible? Because doing all of that is going to be really hard. So we're hoping they can come back in the spring. We're on a little winter break until end of February, and then it starts again. So fingers crossed. I'm hoping they'll be like, look, we can come back and win the whole thing this time, which I need more trophies in my room. So that's it. But thank you guys for recognizing us. We deeply appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bosulto. I love your enthusiasm for esports. It's really amazing. And so we have a certificate of recognition for you and for all of the students.
Okay,
Some of whom I know couldn't be here
a
tonight.
couple of them think so.
So I'm gonna call your name, and if you'll come up, if you are here, to get your certificate and stand over here, we're gonna take a photograph with you and the board. Ada Lee Chong.
Oh, Adel, yeah, I can do that.
Okay. Yanni Panera. Congratulations.
Remember all these hours when the kids were playing, and you're like, why are you playing video games?
Alwyn. Congratulations.
Hey,
Sebastian. Congratulations. Jaden. And Jared. Am I missing anyone?
No.
Because I have two more certificates.
I think it was, we got Alyssa and, right.
Yes, I have those
Okay.
certificates that I will give you. before
Okay.
you leave.
Great.
So we could just scoot in here, get the rest of the board to come over. Yeah, oh, Bryce, you're here.
Oh.
You get to, excuse me, Bryce. Okay, perfect. Right, so let's get in here. Yeah, you guys have to squeeze in. Like, maybe what else? We get in here. Okay. Can you see your time? No.
Got the count through right here. 1, 2, and 3. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Over here.
We'll be signing autographs.
Yeah. Sorry, take this.
Wow.
Smile and your hand. There you go. Hey. Did everybody get us? Everybody got one?
All right. Yes.
There goes the audience.
Wow, how fun is that to
I have no idea where they.
to have
That
fun
really should
competing and to do what they
It would
do?
look like that if everyone.
All right, thank you. All right, we have lost 3/4 of our audience. Come on up to the front. All right. Next, public comment. The Board of Education has adopted Board Policy 9323B to ensure the public's right to be heard in any matters pertaining to the San Marino Unified School District. Persons who wish to provide public comment will have 3 options to submit public comments. First, they may submit through an online form. As of 3:30 this afternoon, we did not have any submissions, but if there were submissions, it would be provided to the board. Request to speak during the meeting via Zoom. Dr. Choi?
Thank you, President Ryan. We'll go ahead and pause for 1 minute to take any requests to speak regarding matters that are not on the agenda or in the consent or information items sections, as well as the action and any information sections. I already mentioned that. So if you would like to make a request to speak, go ahead and press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. 30 seconds remain. If you'd like to make a comment, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. We have no requests.
Thank you, Dr. Choi. Next, we have the consent section. Regarding consent section 9A to I. May I have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mrs. Chong. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mrs. Gill. With that roll call, Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mrs. Chong,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, I, Student Board Member, Ms. Cho.
Aye.
Thank you. Communication section, communication from the Board of Education. We ask that each board member take no more than 2 to 3 minutes to share their communication. Let's begin with Mrs. Lamb.
Mrs. Nam, will you go ahead and please unmute?
Thank you. I attended the Carver holiday party before the winter break, so that was really great. It was really fun to see the little ones perform and sing different holiday songs. And it was also a great time during break getting together with family. And that is all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lamb. Mrs. Chong.
Yes, so in addition to the holiday festivities, also had a chance to show, go to our elementary choir performances in the community, which were great to show off. And the We Are San Marino art exhibit with the student created profiles of the San Marino High School teachers and staff, which was a lot of fun to see. Today I attended the LACO Budget Perspectives Workshop with Capital Advisors, and the takeaways, a lot of which we're going to come up later on with Dr. Lin. But for me, I noted the LAO and governor's numbers are really far apart, more than they've ever been before. And the takeaway was the governor's proposal relies on an optimistic outlook for the out years, and the plan is to use reserves, so there's no budget cuts or deferrals, which is good news. However, we were advised to keep an eye on the May revision after the actual revenues for the next 5 months come in. And apparently January was already reported to be not good. They used the word anemic to describe the 0.76 COLA, which they perceived to be insufficient to cover the rising cost of PERS and our utilities. And they also noted that there would be a possible 1% cut to our federal funding as a result of the Fiscal Responsibility Act that we need to keep an eye out for if the legislature does not act. I think all in all, all of that came together to say that it necessitates a conservative approach to our spending. The California Department of Finance issued a letter regarding expenditure freezes, which outlined a plan to cancel or delay what they called deemed unnecessary spending for equipment, services, technology, and travel and whatnot. So that was something that they advised all state agencies to consider. And then the last thing, which was sort of an aside, had to do with our facilities, and they talked about the ESSER funds and that there might be a possible extension regarding the liquidation of those funds in January. So that was something we would need to be looking out for. And they also talked about AB 841 grants regarding some energy uses. And they said once again that most likely we will see a bond on the ballot for the state, which for us, if we move forward with a bond, could mean additional monies for us to tap into for matching funds if the bond should be placed on the ballot and actually passed. So that could increase our spending power for modernization and construction. So it's just another thing to keep an eye on.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Chong. Mrs. Gill.
Seems like it's been so long since we've been together. Happy New Year to everyone. Prior to the break, I did attend the Valentine and Carver programs, which were wonderful, and they are the same. So head to head, they're both very, very excellent. So I attended the winter concerts for HMS and San Marino High School. It is so incredible to see the growth from the middle school beginning band all the way when they take them all the way through senior year. We have some incredible musicians in our district. And then lastly, I am newly on the FAC committee, and I attended the first meeting of the year last week. And I know that President Ryan will be reporting out on that. So
Thank you. Mr. Chang.
I also attend the whole school holiday musical event there. I was impressed in the high school auditorium. I see the lot of the young musicians. Yeah, they can get together and play the music. That's wonderful. End of the after January 8th, I went to overseas. As you know, I'm start to changing my lifestyle. I continue to attend the meeting, but I also want to go to the world to I think this age probably is a compete with the time. So you want to get everything, whatever you can. So when I went to Taipei, even I'm the Catholic, usually I don't go to the temple, but then I went to the temple, you know, in the local community, they believe there's a lot of God. When we have a top God, they in charge of everything. Some in charge for the wedding, and some in charge for the education. So this time I went to the God that in charge for the education. Steven, can you go to the 4 picture together? Okay, this is the guy in charge for the education and also employment. And then go to the second one. They have next one, the big one. So I was surprised. One family, they are asking to go to Harvard University.
Should have given you a switch.
And you know, I never see the format how to pray to get a wish. So each one they had to bring to buy the school, the t-shirt or the Josh. So then this family, they buy the Harvard.
So do you think we need to do that here? Start investing in.
Well, besides that, because this in charge of the education, I did make some wish for our school district, but I don't want to say. Okay, so this is the one I want to show you. You know, always when you go to the overseas, you always find a lot of interesting things. Yeah. You want to put the 4 together? Yeah.
Not sure if I can line them up all.
Okay, this one mean you know, you need to get some like
See good luck
you
charm.
have a wish, so then you can get what you want to ask. Yeah. And the next one. Okay, so one time all the family believer there, so they put the teacher or the school name, and then put there, and also have to put the candy, fruit, yeah, and then make a wish. Yeah, yeah. These are the happening in the Taiwan. I think also probably in maybe in Japan and Korean or the China. So I want to show our high school principal. So that's the reason some the parent always so serious. It's come from this. Okay.
Yeah, right?
That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Chang, for sharing your travels and your experiences. I would be remiss if I did not say a big thank you for 2023. As I was president, but I had so much support from the board. My heartfelt thanks to Francesca Gill for always stepping up when I give her a call, and to Mr. Joseph Chang for always attending the PTA and the PTA affiliates meetings for me, Mrs. Gill. So thank you so much for all your support. Just want to make mention that the City Club did have their holiday gathering. I did attend the HMS Holiday Orchestra performance, the Laxta Mixer at PCC, where we heard speaker Robert Hogue. I attended with Dr. Richter and Dr. Delatorre, and he was just an inspirational speaker who talked about going to PCC and then later on to UCLA, and now having worked on the Mars 2020 launch till now, and we're talking about NASA and the Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena. Congratulations to all of our students who continue to work so hard in doing the dual enrollment. Stephen Huang gave the state of the city on behalf of the city. San Marino Schools Foundation meeting. Thank you, Dr. Lin, for always serving us. He was able to discuss the governor's budget, and interestingly enough, President Biden and Harris, they talked about their investment in school, and their promise is to increase the funding for attendance, for tutoring, and for extended programs such as summer and after-school programs. Chinese Club, thank you so much for hosting the Lunar New Year Festival kickoff. They always have good food. They always are just fun people to be around, and that was well attended. FAC meeting, we heard the nuts and bolts of what the board was responsible for. And not only have we had study sessions and we've gone out to each of the school sites, we've talked to the principals and the staff, but we need to continue to do outreach for the community. We're going to host another town hall meeting. Dr. Lin, it's Thursday, right? Or is it tomorrow? It's Wednesday tomorrow. It's tomorrow night at Huntington Middle School. So please, please, please join us to get the information you need to make an informed decision. There's also going to be opportunity for the community members to serve on the oversight committee, and the FAC board did a great job last week in sharing with us the do's and don'ts of what we need to look at in terms of potentially the bond. PISMA and CSBLA had a mixer, and that was last Friday. And so other than that, I want to turn the communications over to our student board member.
Thank you. I first wanted to say Happy New Year. Great to see you all again. Starting off prior to the break, both of the elementary schools had their respective toy drives and holiday programs. But now that we're back, there's actually a very exciting day this week. On Friday, both fifth grade classes from the elementary schools will be going on the annual Arts Rock field trip. So they'll be coming up to the high school and all of the art programs. So that's like band, orchestra, drama, dance, and choir, I believe. We'll be holding mini workshops to really show the kids what arts at San Marino will look like. Granted, they decide to go through the middle school and hopefully come to the high school. On the dance side, we will be teaching small dances to the kids. So if anyone would like to come see me teach a Me in One Direction song, let me know. It's going to be great.
Hey.
Moving up to the middle school side, before the break, they had their Winter VAPA assembly, which will be followed up by their sixth grade dance coming up this week. And then on the high school side, January and December were very busy months in terms of ASB. We had our students versus teachers volleyball game on the last week of school, which was then followed up by our winter assembly, where we had our very first game of Christmas themed Family Feud. If anyone was there, some of the answers were a little questionable, I'm not gonna lie. And then we followed that up strong coming back from the break with our hoop coming game and our winter formal this past weekend at Almanzar Court. And then of course this week we never fail to have something going on. Friday will be the San Marino Dance Department's second show of the year, a night of choreography. It's a very special show. I really hope you all decide to go. Every piece in the show is choreographed by a San Marino student or students, and it's just gonna be a really great night. So,
What time does that start?
and that will be at 7 in the Nair Theater.
All right.
And I just wanted to add, while Dr. Wolf is here and Megan, I'm getting such great feedback on the student-led tours of for the high school, for the upcoming freshmen. I mean, they're just so impressed with the students, how they're just so knowledgeable and confident. And I think it's great to hear. So anyway.
All right, thank you. And with that, next we have communication from our superintendent, Dr. Linda Delatorre.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the Board of Education, Student Board Member Choa, and our wonderful executive team. As I sit here this evening, I look out into the audience and I see not members of the public, but our wonderful, amazing administrative team. And I am so proud of the work that they have done thus far this year. It really has been a challenging year, and we're at the midpoint, and it's been reflection time for me because I am required to submit my self-evaluation to the Board of Education by January 30th. So I've been thinking a lot about the performance of our principals and our directors, and of course, our amazing executive team. And I'm just so pleased that everyone has been aligned in really looking at the board goals and developing site-specific goals that align with the board's four broader goals. And it has been a very successful endeavor. And I mean, everyone just works so hard and goes above and beyond all the time. I feel truly blessed to be at the helm of such a capable and competent and hardworking team of public servants. Really, I mean, you just give so much of yourselves to the work that we do every day, and it's not easy, and I recognize that. And I know the board recognizes that as well. So I just wanted to publicly thank all of you, and including this amazing team that I spend so much time with every day. Really, we are so grateful for them and for their leadership and their competency. I also wanted to say, I've been thinking a lot about gratitude and leadership. And I have an announcement to make, and that is we have a Golden Bell Award recipient that's going to be honored on February 27th. It's from 8 to 10 o'clock, and it is at the Santa Anita Racetrack. I know our executive team will be there, our principals will be there, the Board of Education, all of you hopefully will be there. And the recipient this year is going to be President Shelley Ryan. So congratulations in advance. Look forward to honoring your years of service, your dedication to our students.
I
and our
just
school district.
RSVP maybe if I have time. So I'm crossing it out now because I
will
know I'm
talk
going
to
to get in
Dee
trouble.
And make sure you have time. I call, yeah, Dr. Harmiel. So we'll take care of that for you, no problem. I also wanted to mention that we have a town hall happening at Huntington Middle School cafeteria tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. And we're inviting everyone to come out and provide input on the 4 draft plans that we have. This is a what did we miss meeting. This is just to look at what we have thus far and to, really solicit more input from all of our stakeholders on the plans that we currently have for each of the school sites. So thank you, Dr. Lynn, for all of your hard work in putting that together and organizing that. And we look forward to seeing our board members there tomorrow night as well. Our next board meeting is going to be held on February 6th. That will also be held at Huntington Middle School. Thank you, Principal Hazlett, for making those arrangements for us. We appreciate it. I know there was something else happening in the middle school auditorium, but you knocked that out for us. So thank you so much. That will be our State of the District address happening on February 6th. I also want to extend my sincerest gratitude and appreciation for our principals getting some performances that will highlight and celebrate the work that our students are doing at each of our campuses in academics, arts, athletics, and activities. So I'm super excited to see how that comes together in very short order. So thank you, Gil, for making sure that that is all set up and taken care of. We appreciate the work that you do as well. I met recently with the city manager, Mr. Philippe Escandar, and talked with him about several issues of interest between the city and the school district. And he is going to be giving us some dates and times for the Board of Education City Liaison Committee to be meeting with the City Council to School District Liaison Committee. And so we're going to set those dates up and get together and talk about some of the issues and opportunities for collaboration going forward, which I'm really excited about. And then I also wanted to let you know that I am going to be attending the Access Superintendent Symposium, which started today in Indian Wells. So after this meeting, I'll be driving out to Indian Wells. I'll be attending sessions, and then I'll be driving back for the town hall tomorrow, and then I'll be driving back out, and I'll be there through Friday. So if anybody needs anything, I have a very competent and capable executive team that will be here to provide service. If you need anything by phone, I'm always available to you. And with that, I have another important special announcement to make, and that is Mr. Chang's birthday. He is turning 30 again this year. And so Rio. And so I want to take this opportunity to sing happy birthday. So on 3, ready, 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Cha cha cha. Happy birthday to you. Cha cha cha. Happy birthday, dear Joseph. Happy birthday to you. Woo!
We go. So post-COVID, I don't think you can blow those out.
You have to, no, with the plate, with the plate, with the plate.
Hey, he's gonna do it. Oh, wait.
For puppy health.
Yeah. Can you get a picture? Here, can you get a picture? Because you're in the best position to do it.
You guys, can you come and get a picture with
And
Mr.
yeah,
Chang?
get the board behind you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Joseph and all his ladies.
And I'll-
So wait, you're not there. We'll Photoshop you in.
Joanna, do you want me to drive a piece of cake over to your house?
Absolutely.
What did she say? What did she say?
Yes.
No,
Okay.
no, I'm kidding. No, no, no. That looks delicious.
We miss you, Joanna.
I'm missing all of this action.
Thank you.
Joseph, you need to turn 30 again on the 6th, please,
then
so we can get more
All of our
cake.
principals get a piece. Okay.
By the way, thank you so much. I never have this honor to be celebrated in the public occasion. Yeah, I mentioned when I'm served as a hospital CEO, I even don't have a birthday celebration because the time, you know, my staff or executive staff, they are take a vacation, they don't come back. Yeah. And you know what? One more time, I want to thank you for you give me the separation, because to me, when I think about the birthday, I always think about my mother, you know, because I'm the 6th child. And before I come, I have 5 sisters. And 2 is a twin. So you see how hard, you know, my mother have a me, and my father is an obstetrician. So he deliver in person. Yeah. So when I think about this, I always think, you know, so when you increase 1 year, you have to think about more things. Yeah, think about how we can feedback to the community and to serve a community, because I think we always need to appreciate each other. You know, I think especially like we meet the 4th school principal here. So how lucky we can get together and work for the student. Yeah, so this is not easier in the world. Then we can get together. So So thank you, for this celebration. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Chang, I didn't know you had that many sisters, and now on the board, you have 4 women on the board. So, the fun just continues. You're just surrounded by women all the time. Okay, so in any case, next we have, it's an information item. I will be calling on Dr. Lena Richter, who will present the board with a 2023 San Marino Unified School District California Dashboard Overview. With that, Dr. Richter.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the board, student board member, Superintendent Dr. Delatorre, and Cabinet. It is my pleasure to present to you this evening an overview of the 2023 California School Dashboard, which was publicly released on December 15th, 2003. Dr. Choi, thank you for advancing the slides. The purpose of this presentation is to provide an overview of reporting measures reflected on the California School Dashboard, share progress on district and school reporting measures, and then lastly, share actionable next steps. The state of California has identified 8 significant priorities described in Education Code that play a critical role in the overall success of all students. As required, these 8 state priorities must be reported in the California School Dashboard. School districts are required to address these state priorities as well as any local priorities identified by their respective districts in their local accountability plan, which is also known as the LCAP. These 8 priorities fall into 3 main categories that you could see at the bottom of this slide: academic performance, academic engagement, and lastly, culture and climate. Familiar to all, the California School Dashboard is an online tool designed to help communities across the state access important information about kindergarten through 12th grade schools and districts to provide parents and educators with meaningful information on school and district progress for the main purpose of improving student learning. The California School Dashboard utilizes state and local indicators for progress monitoring on each of the 8 state priorities we saw in the previous slide. 6 indicators in which data is collected at the state level include academics, chronic absenteeism, college and career readiness, English learner progress, graduation rates, and suspension rates. The 5 local indicators, which we see here on the right, is where data is collected at the local level, and they include basic conditions, implementation of California state standards, school climate, parent and family involvement and engagement, and lastly, access to courses for all students as required by Ed Code. Next slide, please. For the 2023 California School Dashboard state indicators only, we see the return of color performance levels, also known as the 5x5 placement report, reflecting a full return of California's accountability system with reporting of status, how we currently did in the year 2023, and change, the difference from 2022 to 2023. Blue indicating the highest performance color and red indicating the lowest performance color. School districts receive 1 of 5 performance levels for each eligible state measure, except for the college and career readiness. And we'll explain that a little bit later. The performance levels are determined using current year and prior year data and are represented by a color ranging from red being the lowest to blue being the highest. For the local indicators, reporting remains the same, with districts reporting either having met local indicators, not having met, or not having met for 2 consecutive years. We'll go on to the next slide. As mentioned in the prior slide, performance level or color is determined from both status, how well we did according to the most recent data, and change, how does our current performance compare to last year's performance. For each indicator, there are 5 status levels and 5 change levels. Next slide, please. At this time, let's take a closer look at the California School Dashboard reporting for the San Marino Unified School District. This slide shows us an overview of the dashboard progress reporting for our school district for both state and local indicators, including information on district demographics. As reported on the 2023 dashboard, San Marino shows favorable progress reporting results for nearly all indicators. The pictorial indicators as reflected on the dashboard are seen in the center of this slide with more detailed information for each indicator on either the left or the right side, depending if they're state or local indicators, and they are represented in their respective performance color font. So if they earned a blue color performance level, you will see that reflected in blue font. The A, E, and C seen at the corners of each indicator simply represent the priority categories as we saw in relation to the 8 state priorities, A being academic performance, E being academic engagement, and C referring to culture and climate. We are extremely pleased to see that San Marino has made favorable progress across most state indicators and all local indicators when compared to last year. ELA, sorry, we're going to go back one slide. Perfect. So for English language arts, we see a 9.4 increase in performance progress. That earns us a blue performance color. That's 105.3 points above standard. When we're talking about standard, that just means the distance on average students score from the lowest possible score they can get to having met the standard. Okay. For math, we see a 14.9 increase, earning a blue performance color, and that's 98 points above standard. Graduation rate, which is really exciting for us this year, 3.5 increase, resulting in a 99.5% graduation rate. So that's huge applause. For the English language progress indicator, although we see a slight decline, 0.3%, we are still maintaining the status and earning a green performance color. Suspension rates, again, only increasing by 0.2, but maintaining the status and earning the highest performance color being blue. For chronic absenteeism, we do see an increase of 2.3%. Now here we don't want to see an increase. Here we want to see a decrease, earning an orange performance color. However, statewide chronic absenteeism continues to be an area where much needed improvement has been observed. And on the right side, we see all the local indicators. Perfect. We see all the local indicators all having earned a MET status. So it's exciting news. On to the next slide, please.
I'm sorry, Dr. Richter, can you explain the difference between chronic absenteeism and just general absenteeism?
Absolutely. Chronic absenteeism is when a student is absent 10% or more of the days they are enrolled in school.
So it's possible for just regular absenteeism to have improved while chronic absenteeism has actually increased, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Just wanted to make sure that we have that
Clarifying that.
distinction.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll see that a little bit later.
Thank you.
Okay, so on slide 9, we see the academic performance indicators for all 4 schools. And here on this slide, we see it for English language arts and for math. Again, extremely proud of the performance across all 4 schools with nearly all performance colors in blue. Something our schools are very, very proud of, and illustrates the direct result of our hardworking teachers, parents, administrators, and last but not least, our students. Next slide. This slide shows the English learner progress indicator across all 4 schools. And for the first time this year, the dashboard adds a color to this measure. And so this measures the amount of progress English learners are making. And it only takes into consideration English learners who from one year to the next advance a level on the LPAT, if they went from a level 2 to a level 3, a 3 to a 4, 1 to 2, or they remained at the same level, but it had to be a level 4. So it doesn't include all English learners, only those who have demonstrated progress. For high school reporting, we see yes, we do, same slide. For high school reporting only, we see favorable performance levels for graduation rate, as we shared earlier, and college and career readiness. Again, the 99.5% graduation rate and the very high for college and career readiness is exemplary. For this dashboard 2023, as we shared earlier, the college and career readiness will only reflect status. That is why it does not have a performance color, because it's not comparing to last year. For the upcoming dashboard in 2024, we will see change and performance current year compared to last year, because then we will have 2 consecutive years of college and career readiness data. Next slide, please. This slide is the last of our state indicators, which is chronic absenteeism and suspension rates. Suspension is calculated by the percentage of students kindergarten through grade 8 who have been, 12, who have been suspended at least once during a given school year. Students who are suspended multiple times or for multiple days are still only counted once. And then chronic absenteeism, as Dr. Delatorre shared earlier, is calculated by the percentage of students in kindergarten through grade 8 only. High school is not included, who are absent 10% or more of the instructional days that they were enrolled. Absenteeism, like we said earlier, is not reported for grades 9 through 12. However, being San Marino, we do monitor and track that data internally. So statewide, absenteeism continues to be a problem. District-wide, we acknowledge this, and we acknowledge the need to continue to focus in these 2 areas to reinforce the importance of regular school attendance. Again, with each of the state indicators, the public, teachers, staff is able to find more detailed information on the various student groups, and that can be found on the California School Dashboard. Our site administrators and leadership teams will be taking a deeper dive, as they already had with the CAS scores, into their respective school data throughout the remainder of the year to identify strength and needed growth and to more accurately identify those students and student groups that need additional support. Next slide. And this slide is fairly easy for us to see that on the local indicators, we have reporting of MET for each indicator, whether it falls into academic performance, academic engagement, or culture and climate. Next slide. Next steps. Now that we have our performance reporting data, we have our CAS scores, what actionable next steps are needed to continue on this growth trajectory? On this slide, we see many of the activities and programs that San Marino currently has in place, and some that have started just this year, all in alignment with our board goals and priorities as we continue to strengthen teaching and learning district-wide. Next slide, please. And this concludes my brief overview of the California School Dashboard, and I am happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
So when we look at the California dashboard, to what extent is it a performance indicator of status as opposed to improvement? Because I feel sometimes people might look at it and it might not necessarily look like there's a change, but it's very hard to go from 95 to 96.
Mhm.
So how does that end up being reflected in the dashboard? And is that something, or is it more, it's really just a status indicator?
So this year it's status and change. That's why we have come back to the 5x5 grid. They look at where our students scored on the 2022 CASP and or whatever measure we're looking at and how they did this year. So we're looking at where they started and how they did this year. And there's a 5x5 grid and it's very different. It's different. The cut points are very different for grade level spans and the different state measures. And so depending on how, like if you were, yellow last year and you scored a certain score this year, you could still remain at yellow depending on those cut points, or you could advance to a higher color. You could be green, or you could revert to red. So it all depends on that 5x5 grid. And that's very clearly explained on the CASP website and the CDE website.
So when parents or people who are not educators, when we're looking at this, is it fair to compare one district's dashboard to another? Or do you really have to look at them as independent standalone dashboards?
I think it's fair to compare. We always do that. That's what keeps us motivated and competitive. When we compare our CAS scores to other districts as well, we want to be number one. But I also think we need to look at it as we look at when we take our diagnostics. We want to see ourselves grow. So we look at where we started and how we can improve as a school district, because we don't want to compare ourselves with regards to go to another school district, because we don't want to stay stagnant. We want to see our baseline and where we were this year. And that's why having the reverting back to the color coded performance levels is very helpful, because not only does it show you how many percentage points that you've grown from one year to the next, but it also shows you the performance color, which is great.
Thank you. I have a quick question. Well, actually, two questions. Can you define what climate specifically means?
Sure, absolutely. Culture and climate really refers to, do we have a climate where students are feeling connected? Do we have a climate where students are engaged? Do we have a climate where students feel like they belong? And suspension rate, expulsion rates, attendance rate, that all plays into climate, because when students feel like they belong and they're safe, and this is their school, they attend school.
Thank you. And then for the English learners score at Carver, does that include the new dual language immersion children who don't necessarily know the language yet?
It does not, only because we're looking at grades 3 through 8 and 11. So eventually, yes, it will, in about 4 years, but right now it doesn't. Oh, I'm sorry. No. For LP, yes, it does. Excuse me. For the English language, I'm thinking CAS. Yes, all English learners by law must take the LPAC. Parents are not able to opt them out of the LPAC. So students K through 12, if they're designated as an English learner, do need to take the LPAC.
Tell them how long they've had to be in the country before they have to take it.
For CAS, parents, for CAS with an English learner is 12 months or less in the country. They do not have to take the English language arts portion of it, but they do take the math.
Thank you.
But for LPAC, they take the entire assessment, which focuses on 4 domains: listening, speaking, reading, and writing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Dr. Richter, for another great overview of our progress according to the dashboard. Next, we have the governor's budget proposal overview. I'd like to turn this over to Dr. Michael Lynn, who will do an overview of the governor's budget proposal.
Thank you, Board President Ryan, members of the Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Delatorre, executive team, and student board member Megan. Item 11B is an informational item about the governor's budget proposal for the 24-25 state budget and how it affects our district's financial status. Next slide, please. California is a relatively progressive state with a graduated income tax system in which high income earners account for a large part of the state's tax revenues. What we saw in 2022 was a significant decline in the stock market, as seen in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the S&P 500, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ. As you can see here, the Dow Jones lost more than 8% in 2022, and the S&P 500 lost 19%. The NASDAQ lost more than a third of its overall value in just 1 year. And when we have high income earners in California write off their losses, the state's revenues tend to take a nosedive. Also, as a result of catastrophic weather events in California and the tax filing extensions as a result, the 2022 tax receipts were received just 2 months ago on November 15th. And with this info, here's what we know. Dr. Choi, next slide. Thank you. And so we have the top 3 tax revenues. They're in the form of personal income tax. The acronym here is PIT, sales and use tax, and corporation tax. Now, Governor Gavin Newsom projects a $38 billion budget shortfall due largely to the 2022 tax collections being well below the budget's assumptions. The governor's budget proposal, seen in green here, uses less pessimistic revenue assumptions than the fiscal outlook from the legislative analyst's office, seen in orange. The blue bars, they represent the amounts from the enacted budget from last July of 2023. As you can see, the governor is quite optimistic about the sales and use tax revenues for this year and next year, and that's in those green bar charts. He is also more optimistic when compared to the legislative analyst's office on the personal income tax and corporation tax for this year and next year. And his approximation is $38 billion shortfall. The legislative analyst's office approximation is $68 billion, $30 billion more pessimistic than the governor's projections. The legislative analyst's office tends to be more realistic historically, but it's good to have a governor who's going to be defending education, as we'll see in the next slide. So good news, bad news. And this slide is about Prop 98. This is the constitutional legislation that allows us to be funded as an educational system. The good news is that we have had significant increases in Prop 98 in the last several years, and the state has record levels of reserves in which the governor intends to tap into. Now, the bad news is, of course, the shortfall in tax revenues, as mentioned earlier, and the solution from the governor is actually unprecedented. So we don't know how it's going to be tested. And therefore, the risks to school districts is that there is uncertainty because this is so unprecedented in nature. Dr. Choi, next slide, please. Okay, so at the local front, we have the governor's proposal continues with the theme of correction and normalization. Correction due to the revenue shortfall and normalization as the economy is hopefully stabilizing from the pandemic swings in economic recovery and then downturn in 2022. And now it's kind of going back up slightly this year. The good news for school districts is that the governor is not proposing any new cuts or deferrals to education. Also, the excess revenue generated in the 21-22 school year was offered to school districts as one-time funds. I don't know if you remember the presentation back then was the governor, the bulk of his proposal, more than 66%, more than 2/3 was in one-time funds in anticipation of something like this. So that's actually really good for us because instead of that, the alternative was ongoing commitments, which the state now we can clearly see cannot honor. So those one-time funds is really a good buffer. Now, did I talk about the bad news yet? Okay. So the bad news for school districts is the significant decrease in the cost of living or the COLA adjustments. And the statutory COLA, interestingly, is not tied to the state's financial health. It's actually tied to federally aggregated metrics as a percentage. So the governor and the legislature, they don't come up with a COLA. They actually use the federally aggregated metrics COLA, and then what they do is they must determine whether there is sufficient money in the state coffers to fund the statutory COLA. And so the COLA in the enacted budget in July was 3.94%, almost 4%. And that was in July. And that's how we created this year's budget for next year. And it is now 0.76%, less than 1%. So that is a significant decrease of more than 3% for the year 24-25 fiscal year. So we are now re-quenching those numbers and projecting it for next year. Dr. Choi, next slide, please. Okay, so here are the funding factors for next year. And you've seen something like this before when we present the budget, first interim, second interim, et cetera. And despite the significant drop in the minimum guarantee from the 21-22 school year to 22-23 school year, the governor's budget proposes no cuts in overall Prop 98 funding. So that's really good that he's defending education. Also, the governor's assumptions, if correct, will also result in no need for the state to defer payments to school districts. We've seen that in previous recessions where the state will promise something, but then they'll defer the payment. And then the school districts will have to go and borrow money to make payroll. So the governor is proposing, okay, let's not have deferrals. The governor also does not propose to sweep any unallocated funds from programs. And for now, we hope. So fingers crossed, right? And the funding factors seen here correspond to the base grant per grade span. The reduced 0.76% COLA, grade span adjustments, and the TK add-on. We receive a very small amount of a very small amount of supplemental grants and zero concentration grants due to the way the local control funding formula works in support of school districts with larger percentages of low-income pupils. Next slide, please. So how does all this affect SMUSD, right? I mean, we have big numbers, 38 billion from the governor, 68 billion deficit from the legislative analyst office, but with San Marino, we have 4 schools, right? So using the funding factors we saw in the previous slide, along with the 0.76% COLA, we're looking at an estimated difference of $1.5 million in LCFF funding for the 24-25 school year. Now, this 1.5 million does not factor in supplemental TIG, other grants, which amount to about 300,000. Also, the ADA numbers here are from the P1 report in our consent agenda this evening. And the LCFF projection from the December 12th was from the first interim report presented to the board in the last board meeting. And staff, of course, will take another snapshot on January 31st, end of this month, to provide the Board of Education with the second interim report on March 12th. We'll have to get that into the county by March 15th. And we'll, of course, present the May revise when we have the information from the governor before presenting the actual 24-25 district budget in June. Next slide, please. So at the state level, the road ahead will now depend on what the legislature will do. So now the ball is in the legislative court. We are waiting to see the trailer bill language. Usually that comes out in early February next month. The legislative analyst's office and the public also, they get to provide some feedback to the governor and counter proposals to his January proposal. So then the governor has another chance, which is the May revision, to announce and inform how the budget should be developed, and that's going to help us develop our budget at the district level. Now, at the local level, SMUSD level, we are not considering any budgetary reductions in force. This is mostly thanks to the wisdom of our school board in committing $8 million from the use of one-time funds. It is also due in large part to the hard work of our superintendent, Dr. Delatorre, who preceded me when she oversaw both HR and business services during the pandemic years through cost controls and very responsible fiscal management. So the work that the board and Dr. Delatorre have done prior to the shortfalls in state revenues has certainly made my job as a CBO much easier. So thank you. Next slide. To our amazing board and our superintendent for your wisdom and leadership. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Wow, thank you. Any questions, comments? Thank you, Dr. Lin, for giving us this important budget proposal in terms of state revenue, educational funding. I want to commend you for your hard work. And thank you also, you presented this or a version of this to our foundation, board. And so thank you for that. Next, we have action items. I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Rose, who will be talking to us about 2024 to 2025 academic calendar. So with that, Dr. Jason Rose.
Thank you and good evening, President Ryan, Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Delatorre, Executive Cabinet and Student Board Member. As a part of the negotiation process between SMTA and the district, we collaboratively arrive at a work calendar that also encompasses the academic calendar. In addition, the district also collaborates with CSEA to ensure the calendar works for their members as well. As the remaining item from the 23-24 negotiation cycle between SMTA and the district that was settled, if you recall, back in June of 2023. Tonight, I present to you the proposed amended academic calendar for the 24-25 school year that was shared in closed session that has been uploaded. The changes were the 3 days for professional development were moved from Friday, October 18th to now December 2nd, Monday, December 2nd. It was also changed from January 31st to now February 24th, and then March 28th to now April 14th. It is very similar in structure to the current calendar for the 23-24 school year. The calendar proposes a student start date of August 14th, 2024, and a last school day of June 5th, 2025. The certificated work year would begin on August 12th, 2024, and also conclude on June 5th, 2025. The school year will still consist of 180 student days, and the certificated work year would still remain at 185 days. It is recommended that the board adopt this academic and certificated work calendar for the 24-25 school year. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, with that, may I have a motion to approve the 2024-25 academic calendar?
I move to approve.
Thank you, Mrs. Gill. Was there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. And with that, I'd like to do roll call. Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Chon,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye, and student board member, Ms. Choi.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes for the academic calendar. I'd like to turn now back over to Dr. Lin for approval of the certification of signatures. Dr. Lin.
Thank you, President Ryan. Item 12B is an action item to authorize High School Assistant Principal Sarah Penalora the ability to sign school contracts totaling $5,000 or less and warrants drawn from ASB accounts. So she may be able to carry out her duties as a site administrator in assistance to Principal Dr. Wolf.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mrs. Gill. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Slam.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Lamb. And so with that, I'd like to do a roll call vote. Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Chon,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye, student board member, Ms.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Choi for approval of the Verkada camera project.
Thank you. Good evening, President Ryan, members of the board, student board member Choa, and executive team. I'm pleased to present an update on the district's COPS grant award. I'll begin with a brief summary of the grant and highlight the key milestones we have achieved thus far. I'll conclude with a recommendation to the board to take action with an installation plan. So let's get started. As you may recall, the district submitted a competitive grant application for a new video camera system in May 2023. On November 1st, the district received notice of a $405,872 award, marking a significant opportunity for us to replace our outdated cameras, enhance situational awareness, and increase collaboration with our local police. The grant funds 75% of the project, and the district is responsible for a 25% local match. Since our last meeting on November 14th, we have diligently worked on several fronts. First, SMUSD accepted the award. Next, our human resources, business services, and technology teams worked together to set up several federal systems, including the JEST grants system to manage the grant and the U.S. Treasury ASAP system to process payments and draw grant funds. We have also solicited and gathered input and feedback from our staff, principals, SMPD, and school safety and security experts regarding camera coverage and technical capabilities. Finally, we evaluated several camera vendors and completed site walks to demonstrate our commitment to transparency and collaboration for this project. The district is excited to recommend Verkada cameras as its video security solution. Verkada features video cameras that leverage the cloud to offer a reliable system that is easy to scale. For example, one of the challenges our current system is that only a limited number of staff can actually use it at the same time before it slows down or crashes. Verkada's platform resides in the cloud to allow many more concurrent connections. Verkada's cameras are also more advanced in that they deliver improved coverage. For example, Verkada's multi-sensor camera essentially provides 4 cameras within one so that we can see more. Verkada has also built-in video analytics that enable us to identify objects such as people or vehicles of interest and be alerted. Finally, Verkada will empower us to share vital information and collaborate more effectively with our safety partners to achieve more secure and safe schools. Also, speaking of safety partners, the San Marino Police Department is very excited about the prospect of our schools installing Verkada, as they also currently use Verkada cameras, thus simplifying training between our 2 agencies. Now let's talk about the practical steps ahead, the installation plan. We are very fortunate that Verkada has teamed with NIC partners to offer the most cost-effective solution for SMUSD. NIC's proposal enables SMUSD to take advantage of Verkada's end-of-year promotional pricing while leveraging the California Multiple Award Schedule, or CMAS program, for a streamlined procurement process. I'm also very confident in working with NIC partners as they are experienced with our network since they installed our federal E-rate project for switching and Wi-Fi. This installation plan begins with an initial phase that includes replacing every existing camera as soon as possible while enhancing perimeter coverage areas. The cost of the initial phase comes out to $411,086.15. As mentioned earlier, the grant will fund 75% and the district will fund 25%. There will be $97,557.39 of grant funds remaining after this initial phase. We will use these remaining funds to expand coverage and address additional campus areas. Our collaboration with NIC partners is crucial to the success of this endeavor. NIC partners' expertise ensures a seamless integration process, guaranteeing the Verkada camera project aligns with our vision for a safer educational environment. This concludes my update. I welcome any questions or feedback that you may have, and as this is an action item, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the use of DOJ grant funds and award NIC partners to install the Verkada cameras. Thank you.
Okay, I have
Go ahead.
I have
Go
a
ahead.
couple of questions. So first one, with installation for this equipment, is that we will get rid of the old camera system, right?
Yes, this system will replace our outdated system.
Secondly, how about is that they have a backup power? If Edison shut down, then what happened?
So the great thing about Verkada cameras is that it's cloud-based. So the video footage is actually not stored physically here on our campuses. It's stored in the cloud. So when there is a power outage, the video footage is still in the cloud.
Yeah, but during the time they cannot record in
Yeah, so if there is a power outage that affects the entire campus, then unfortunately the cameras themselves, as well as the network equipment, will rely on backup power. We have very limited backup power for our network. These cameras are powered from that network equipment. On average, we are looking at maybe just 20 to 30 minutes. However, like I said, the camera footage itself will still be accessible, for example, through your phone, and you'll be able to retrieve that footage from the cloud.
And we are looking at alternative ways. This is really maybe appropriate. It's sort of a sidebar for what you're saying, but we are looking at ways to provide backup power to each of our schools, but that would really require a bond because we don't have.
Do you have an idea how much is the budget for backup power system?
Not at this time, but it is definitely a topic that we have been discussing.
Yeah, I think it should also include, for the discussion topic. Third, so the camera system nothing to do with the net, right?
Well, the cameras do depend on the internet to save the video footage to the cloud.
So but the school district, they have a different internet system. The reason I mentioned about is, you know, all the West Drive, you know, I live in West Drive, so it's like a big tent. So the Spartan, they almost shut down every a couple of times every month.
Yeah, our internet.
Even I
access-
mean, overseas, I see that, you know, the email said there's a gun and then they come back. Yeah.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Our internet access is very reliable, and we can tap into multiple networks rather than just one internet service provider. So when, for example, you may be referring to the cable company, the local cable company not having very reliable internet. We don't reside and we don't rely on the same networks.
So mean the school district, they get the exemption, they're not under city jurisdiction to choose the internet company.
We have the ability to choose our internet service providers, and we currently rely on the Los Angeles County Office of Education, as well as Crown Castle, which connects straight to downtown Los Angeles, one Wilshire, for internet service.
Anyone else? Okay, Mrs. Chong.
So I had just a couple of questions. So what are the ongoing costs of storage and maintenance for this as opposed to what we're currently paying?
So because these are cloud-based cameras, they do depend on licensing. And this particular grant will fund up to 3 years, which is what we are recommending that we purchase licensing for the cameras for 3 years. Our current system is based on a completely different pricing model. It is a more traditional model that doesn't have its video in the cloud. So it is more of a one-time purchase with the licensing, and then when it's time for upgrades, it is essentially a rather large upgrade. You're looking at replacing hardware as well as equipment, servers on premise. Verkada doesn't have any servers on premise. It's just the camera, and the footage is actually stored in the cloud.
Are we leasing or purchasing? And I only ask that more in terms of the maintenance of the actual cameras.
We are purchasing the cameras, and we are also purchasing 3-year licensing for these cameras. We can always extend and purchase additional years.
So the licensing includes the storage as well as any maintenance issues that might arise.
Right. This particular package includes a 30-day video footage. And if we archive videos, those are saved in the cloud perpetually.
And then I had a question. You mentioned something about, and in one of the slides, it has the ability to detect persons or things of interest. And I seem to recall we also have software that has a weapon detection. Is that something that integrates with it, or does it replace it, or how does that work?
So the Verkada cameras do have some built-in video analytics. So it gives us the ability to look for objects, meaning cars, persons of interest. The other tool that you are mentioning is Zero Eyes, which is our gun detection, weapons detection, video analytics solution. And that works in collaboration with Verkada. Zero Eyes essentially monitors and overlays their technology on top of the Verkada video feeds. So it works in tandem.
That was my question. Thank you.
I have just a couple of questions. What is the life of the cameras?
The life of the cameras, because they're cloud-based, they can go on average anywhere from 7 to 10 years. It's actually the software and the technology behind it that gets maintained and upgraded. So that's the beauty of going with a cloud-based solution, is that Verkada will introduce new features, and there will be no additional cost for us to utilize a lot of those new features.
That's great. And then from a practical standpoint, how are we monitoring all that information that's coming in, or are we just relying on the analytics and AI to tell us when we should look at something?
It's a combination. We can monitor the Verkada system in real time. What's great about the Verkada solution is it's really easy to find things. And working over the years with our current system, anytime we wanted to look for something, it's a quite a painstaking process.
Mhm.
But with the Verkada solution, it makes searching for things a lot easier, a lot faster.
And is this gonna be integrated with the elementary and middle school, like the buzz in feature?
It can. Currently, we do have buzz-in equipment that is not Verkada. And Verkada does offer a suite of security products. And moving forward, there would be an opportunity for us to look at Verkada access controls as well as visiting folks that are buzzing in at the gates.
Thank you. Dr. Choi, I just wanted to thank you for all your work on applying and getting this award, this federal grant, and for continuing to help us look at ways to ensure safety on our campuses and then to make it more efficient for our principals to use. So that's excellent. Thank you so much. And I'm sure you had the support of cabinet to help you as well. This is an action item. So do I have a motion to approve the Verkada camera project?
I move to approve the use of DOJ SVPP grant funds and award NIC partners to install Verkada cameras.
Okay, had it to repeat all that. Okay, I'm not going to, so thank you, Mrs. Chong, thank you, Ms. Gill. And with that roll call, Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Chong,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, I, school board member, Ms. Choi.
Aye.
Thank you. And with that, the motion passes. Jennifer, I'm sorry, when I was reading this on item 9, the consent section, I read A to I instead of A to J. So I just wanted to make you aware that I probably read that incorrectly into the, when you're taking the minutes. And so as I was matching up, so I just want you to note that. So that the motion should pass, right? I just misread the letters. Okay. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Linda Delatorre to see if she or Mr. Chang have any discussion items.
I'd like to take this opportunity just to wish Mr. Chang a fantastic birthday and a wonderful 2024 one more time. That's it. Really, I'm just looking forward to driving Indian Wells and back and forth and back and forth. Yeah,
Better get going.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. And with that, I adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.